Ain't no name on it. Nigga, get the ball played and get the action. Let's go. Why you got it? Change the time.
He asked Chris Paul if he changed up the defensive assignment yesterday. And Chris said, no, I didn't change up the assignment. I just suggested, hey, we might want to have somebody else guarding Klay right now because Kawhi is not warm yet.
Paul was sent home by the Clippers because his leadership style clashed with the team. He had been vocal in holding management, coaches, and players accountable, which the team felt became disruptive.
And at 2:40 in the morning, Chris Paul posted on Instagram that he had just found out he was being sent home.
A future Hall of Famer got kicked off an NBA team in the dead of night. And at 2:40 a.m., Chris Paul posted on Instagram saying he just learned he was being sent home. The media flipped the switch fast, tagging him as difficult, a locker room lawyer, and too much for the Clippers to deal with. But here's what nobody wanted to touch. Game footage popped up showing a totally different picture. Once you see what Chris Paul was really calling out, it's obvious why the Clippers wanted him gone. He wasn't the issue at all. And that truth made people in that building nervous. Let's break down what actually happened. The official version sounds clean enough. The Clippers were off to a rough start, losing games and momentum. And Chris Paul did what he's always done. He held people accountable. He questioned coaching choices, pushed back on the front office, and spoke up about effort on the floor. That apparently crossed the line, which brings Lawrence Frank into the story. Frank flew to Atlanta to deliver the news in person. The statement said the team and Chris Paul were parting ways, with a careful note that no one was blaming him for the struggles. Veteran stars bumping heads with management isn't new in the NBA, and on the surface, this felt like business as usual. But there's a big gap in that story. When you actually watch the game film and see what Chris Paul was reacting to, something uncomfortable shows up fast. The Clippers didn't move on because he was disruptive. They moved on because he was exposing something the organization wanted quiet. And that issue points straight at their highest paid player. Let's break down the footage that flipped everything upside down. In a game against Cleveland, the Clippers were down 13 in the fourth and badly needed life, while Donovan Mitchell was torching them every trip down the floor. That's when things got wild. Chris Paul, a 40-year-old veteran near the end of his run, stepped up and took the Mitchell assignment himself. Think about that for a second. This is a guy everyone says is washed, too slow, legs gone, career on the edge. Yet there he was, fighting through screens, pushing full speed, giving max effort, trying to drag his team back into the game by pure will. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard was moving very differently on the other end. After the Clippers scored, Cleveland ran a veteran stall move. Darius Garland let the ball roll up the court instead of picking it up. When the ball rolls, the game clock keeps ticking and the shot clock doesn't start until someone touches it. Smart move when you're up. Chris Paul saw it instantly and started yelling for his teammates to press and speed things up. But Kawhi just jogged back like nothing mattered. No urgency, no pressure. Garland rolled the ball all the way into the front court untouched, and by the time anyone reacted, Cleveland had burned 16 seconds off the clock for free. Garland drove, kicked it out, and the Cavs knocked down a three to stretch the lead even more. From start to finish, Cleveland drained over 30 seconds and scored, all because nobody on the Clippers wanted to hustle back. And it didn't stop there. The very next possession was the same mess. The Clippers scored, and Kawhi went right back to that slow, casual jog like this was a practice run instead of a game they had to win. Garland saw it and did it again, letting the ball roll, because why not? Nobody was stopping him anyway. This is the moment that tells you everything about this team. While every other Clipper jogged back at half speed, Chris Paul sprinted all the way into the backcourt himself to make sure Garland couldn't drain more time. The camera pulled back, and that's when it got ugly. Kawhi wasn't even in the frame. That's how far behind the play he was. A 40-year-old point guard, damn near at the end of the road, showing more urgency than a two-time Finals MVP making over $50 million a year, says everything without saying a word. After a dead ball, Chris Paul finally walked up to Kawhi and told him straight up that he needed to get up because Cleveland was burning way too much clock on them. And look what happened next. The very next possession, Kawhi finally hustled out to pressure the ball handler. That raises the real question. If Chris Paul never said anything, would Kawhi have kept jogging the rest of the game? And would anyone else on that roster have had the guts to call it out? Based on what we've seen, the answer is probably no. And that right there is the real issue with the Clippers locker room. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Kawhi Leonard's defensive reputation and whether it still matches reality. Those 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards came in San Antonio, back when he could lock up anyone they put in front of him. LeBron, Durant, it didn't matter back then. What most fans don't realize is this. In the NBA, reputations stick way longer than actual performance does. Once you get tagged as an elite defender, people assume that label sticks forever. The media keeps calling you a two-way monster. Analysts hype how scary you are on both ends. But the real games tell a very different story. Kawhi Leonard hasn't made an all-defensive team since 2021. And last season, his defensive rating was the worst of his entire career. If you actually watch the games instead of staring at box scores, it's clear the effort has been sliding for years. He's slowly turned into an offense-first player who cruises on defense. His scoring is still elite, no debate there, but the idea that he's still a dominant two-way force doesn't really hold up anymore. And when Chris Paul pointed this out, things flipped fast. When he tried to hold the so-called leader accountable, the organization turned on him. Silencing the messenger was easier than dealing with the message itself. That tension exploded during a Clippers loss to the Dallas Mavericks, and that moment sped up Chris Paul's exit. Kawhi was struggling defensively against Klay Thompson after checking back in following a rest stretch. He clearly wasn't warmed up and couldn't stay in front of his man. During a fourth-quarter timeout, Chris Paul walked over and asked a simple question: whether Kawhi felt fresh enough and if he could stay with Klay right now. Kawhi admitted he was struggling, so Paul suggested switching the defensive matchup until he got his legs back. That's a smart veteran move, the kind that actually wins games, and the Clippers made the switch. That's when everything really collapsed. The next day, Chris Paul was pulled into a meeting with assistant coach Jeff Van Gundy at the team plane. Van Gundy asked him straight up if he had changed the defensive assignment during the game. Paul explained he didn't officially change anything. He only suggested someone else guard Klay until Kawhi was ready. The response was ice cold. Van Gundy told him that maybe in other places he would have had freedom to adjust coverages, but not in Los Angeles, a 12-time All-Star. With 21 years in the league, more basketball IQ than almost anyone in the building, being told he didn't have permission to make a common-sense suggestion while the team was losing. Not long after, Chris Paul posted a cryptic message online, just a screenshot of the dictionary definition of the word leeway, with no caption at all. Now we know exactly what that post was really about. What makes this even more telling is what happened after Paul was sent home. James Harden and Kawhi Leonard both went to the media acting shocked, saying they had no idea this was coming. But multiple reports say that wasn't true at all. Sources later revealed that both Harden and Kawhi were fed up with Chris Paul constantly holding people accountable. They knew the move was coming, signed off on it, and felt relieved once it happened. Once he was gone, the picture got ugly fast. The two highest-paid stars watched a teammate get pushed out for calling out real effort problems, and instead of backing him, they let it happen. Maybe they even wanted it that way. Kawhi Leonard didn't mind Paul's feedback at first because he respected him as a player and as a man. But over time, that respect faded. The advice started feeling like nagging instead of help from someone trying to win. James Harden reportedly never loved the idea of bringing Paul in to begin with. From their Houston days, he already knew Chris Paul could be tough to deal with, and those concerns ended up looking justified. From the outside, it looks like a locker room where comfort beats accountability. The two franchise pillars preferred peace over pressure, calm vibes over someone pushing them to be better. And the organization fully backed that choice. Step back. And it's clear this isn't just about Chris Paul anymore. There's a culture problem rotting the Clippers from the inside. The numbers make it even worse. The team was 6-18 when Paul was sent home, losing 8 of their last 10 games, ranked 25th in defensive rating and 19th on offense. By every metric that matters, this team was sinking fast. And when the one guy willing to demand more spoke up, he was the one who got cut loose. Nobody else in that locker room was going to check Kawhi Leonard. Everyone's chasing their next contract, trying to stretch their careers, scared to rock the boat and get labeled difficult. Chris Paul was the only one with nothing to lose because his playing days are coming to an end after this season. At the end of the day, he didn't need another contract or anyone's approval, and that gave him the freedom to speak straight facts. That freedom made him dangerous to an organization that would rather lose comfortably than win through accountability. Now the Clippers are boxed in with over $50 million still owed to Kawhi Leonard next season. On top of that, James Harden is sitting on a $42 million player option he's almost guaranteed to pick up. Draft picks owed to Oklahoma City block any real rebuild. So tanking isn't even an option. There's no clean exit here. The vets around the stars haven't delivered, the defensive issues never got fixed, and the one voice demanding more just got shut down. Steve Ballmer poured billions into this team, built a brand new arena, and stacked what was supposed to be a title contender. Yet the culture that formed is one where nobody can challenge the stars without consequences. Add in ongoing questions around salary cap issues tied to Kawhi, plus injuries, chemistry problems, and a fan base running out of patience. And things are getting ugly fast. Every loss shrinks the window. Chris Paul's legacy will always spark debate. He's one of the greatest point guards ever, and also known as someone tough to play with. Both things can be true at the same time. What can't be denied is this. Once the footage came out showing exactly what Chris Paul was calling out, the proof was loud and clear. He wasn't exaggerating or causing drama. He was pointing at real, visible effort problems from players who should have known better. Sometimes the so-called difficult person isn't difficult at all. He's just the only one being real, the only one saying what everyone else is thinking but too scared to say out loud. Chris Paul walked out of that building with receipts, and now the whole world can see exactly what he saw. The real question is whether the Clippers will ever face it, and based on everything we've seen, fixing this would mean uncomfortable talks with the people making the most money, something this organization clearly avoids. Instead, they'll keep losing, keep making excuses, and keep acting confused about why nothing works. Meanwhile, a 40-year-old point guard with 1 foot out of the league showed more hunger to win than guys making 10 times his paycheck. If that doesn't tell you what's really broken in Los Angeles, nothing will. If you respect honesty over excuses, hit like. If you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe. And if this opened your eyes, share it with a real Hoops fan.